Hey, welcome back guys. In my previous video, I had shown you the different ways in which we can use functions in JavaScript. So in this video, I'm just introducing you to something of an extension to the way functions are used. So uh, in this particular file, as you see over here, we have uh, two ways in which we are using the functions. Okay, at the top, you see that the usual way of using function expressions, right? Where we have an anonymous function and we're just assigning it to some expression, and then from that point onwards, we plan to use that uh, expression. Just stop. Let this be 1. Let this be 2. The so fn1 is our this one, which we are mostly familiar with by this time, right? Now this notation over here is a bit different over here, right? So what we are doing essentially is that we don't have to use the function keyword here as totally. Okay. Instead, we are using this notation, and this is called the arrow notation, and hence this kind of function is called the arrow function. Okay, and this is a new addition in the ES6 specification. So ES, by the way, is just a specification for all client-side scripting. So just to give a brief overview on what exactly this is, right? So when the internet started, there was a lot of different ways of writing client-side scripting, right? There were different scripting languages all around the world, and they did things in different ways, same things in different ways, and there was hardly any standardization anywhere. So what the ES specification brought in is that they called out certain standards that had to be followed by all the client-side languages, client scripting languages, which follow the ES specifications. Now, ES6 is the newest version of the ES specification, and as part of that, there are certain new features that has been introduced. And by the way, the ES specification is not only for JavaScript; it's going to be there for all such client-side scripting languages. JavaScript is probably the most popular of the JavaScript languages we have, of the client-side languages we have. But the point is that the arrow functions are the newest introduction of the ES6 specification, and for that matter, this is why you see a lot of arrow functions being introduced, used in things like TypeScript, for that matter. Okay. So right. So and as you saw, like it's like a very short hand notation of writing functions. So fn2 is a similar function as fn1, producing almost the same result. So if you see now, if we run this thing, okay, we're getting some error, and that's probably because of this. This should be fn1 and this should be fn2, and both of them are returning 12. So both are essentially the same functions, but they are declared in different ways. Okay, so one is using the arrow operator and the other is using the normal function expression operator. One is ES5 and one is ES6 specification. Okay, and to know more about this ES5 versus ES6, you can just use this link that I have pointed out below. So just to show one more variety of this arrow function, right? So here we're just returning something. So let's just say P3, and over here we can say 2. So it should be 24, and yes, it's 24, right? So this is just one more thing which I wanted to show, is that the use of function expressions in parameters. Okay, so what we will do is, over here, let's say I declare a function and I say over here fn1, fn2, okay, and over here I just say fn1 multiplied by fn2, and I'll just console log. Okay, and this again we'll make it 4 and 3, or rather just say okay, let's just see if this works or not. Doesn't work. fn1, fn2, so log fn1, me trying to do this. Okay, so sorry about that. I actually kept this without this comment, so that's why the error was coming. But right now I executed and it gave me 144. So let's see. So this is 4 and 3. This goes over here and gives us 12. This 12 multiplied by this is again 4 into 3 is 12. Okay, so 12 into 12 is 144. Now let's just try to make this a bit different. Let's make this over here instead. Let's see if this works or not. Yeah, this works too. And if we want, we can make this as this. So this should actually give us 0. Yeah, so that's working for us. Okay, so this is how we can pass a function as a parameter. Okay, so now we are looking at one more important thing, which is basically the, the scope of different variables. We have already looked at local variables earlier. Let's just look at now global variables. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this, or let me just rather save this files, name this as 14.js, and then let's just use so let's for example, let's just have var p4, okay, and over here we'll say p4 equal to 8, and then over here we'll say p4. Okay, so as you see over here, we are getting the result by multiplying those two parameters p1 p2 along with p4, which is in this case a global variable. Okay, and a global variable, by the way, it means that in a typical scripting scenario, in a web scenario where you have a lot of scripts in one page, like all the scripts in that page will be able to access that variable. Okay, okay, so now let's see where we are. Yeah, so this, for example, 4 3 12 into 8 120, sorry, 12 into 8 is 96. Yes, so it should be returning 96 now. Okay, so we see 96 returned. Now let's do one thing. Let's declare var p5 equal to 8 as well, and over here let's put p5. Now as well we see 96, right? But the 96 is coming from a local variable in this case, right? Now if p4 changes to 8 over here, and we do it over here, and let's say this also becomes p4, in that case both f1 and f2 would return the same value if we are passing the same parameters. So in this case, let's use fn2. Okay, and now let's see. So 96 and 96, same global variable is shared in between both, right? So far we have seen local variables, we have seen global variables, we have seen how functions use the local variables and how local variables die once they are outside the function. And we have seen how global variables are shared across different functions, how if we put a value in the global variable, that value change is being updated simultaneously across all the functions which are using that global variable. Let me just show one more thing over here. So let's just put one console dot log for P4 and P5. Okay, so P4 is our global variable and P5 is a local variable in fn1. So let's just see. So as you see here, P5 is not defined, and so you cannot even compile that P5, right? So let's just take out P5 and just print P4. And we see that the global variable is actually being found out in the scope. So the lifetime is the entire page for the global variable. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let's just inside fn1 declare another variable called P4 and give it 9. Okay, so now if we print P4 right at the bottom of the page, then what would be the value? And let's just to reduce our complexity, let this be P5 so that we're not using P4 anywhere at this moment. Okay, and let's just say that console.log inside P4. Okay, let's see. So when we do this, what do we see? Inside 9 is the first call. Okay, and just keep this in mind that this comes twice because this is being called from here as well, right? So we can just comment out this part and now we should see it just once. So now we have inside 9 and this is coming as 8. So if you want, you can just, for clarity, put this over here. And now we see that the same variable is coming as 9 inside and outside it's coming as 8, which means that inside the function it still uses the local variable, okay, and outside it uses the global variable. So with this kind of an observation, I'm going to wrap up this video. In the next video, we're going to see a very interesting feature in JavaScript which will just emerge out of this observation. Okay, thank you so much and stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.